Hi, this is David Williams. I'm here with Shawn Draper. Shawn, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm glad you could be with us. I want you to share just a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then at the end, I'll allow you, more of an opportunity to share your website and some additional information. So go ahead and dive in with the short version, and then we'll get started with things.
Okay, well, it almost feels like a loaded question. Who am I? It's Freudian at best, but at the very least, I'm a husband, a father, and a small business owner. And it's in the context of being a small business owner that I'll share more. I'm the owner of Draper DNA, which is a full-service advertising and marketing agency that's dedicated to the building product space. So as you look around your home or your business, all the different products that are installed to make your life comfortable or efficient or effective, all the different manufacturers associated with that are my clients. So that's the quick elevator pitch as to who I am and what we do.
I appreciate you sharing that. And that's, like I said, at the end, you can share even more, a lot more details on what you just shared, how people can reach you. One of the things for people who may have not seen some of the other videos yet is that I am going to mention that I'm taking some notes along the way. So people might think, well, what's this guy doing? Is he texting? Is he doing? And speaking of that, I'll make sure that my phone is off. And I was doing one of these the other day, and the Siri started, I guess it heard some of the conversation and popped up and started talking. So I'm going to be making some notes as we go through this. With that said, what I'd like for you to share with me today, and for those listening, whether it be by the podcast or watching the video version, is what do you see? It can be personal life as well, but obviously you mentioned small business, and that's one of the areas that definitely would love to hear your take on. What do you see people doing when times are good versus when times are not so good? And how do you, especially in the marketing space, help people kind of see things differently and say, no, you don't like shut off all your ad revenue and stop completely marketing? And then how might you market, in a challenging situation when things are kind of tight? Because obviously you still need to run your business. So I'm going to let you dive in. I'll take some notes. You may have some questions from me, which would put me on the spot, right? So I'll try to see if I can answer those as well as we go along. So with that said, I'm going to let you dive in and get us going.
Well, I forewarned you that you had said this is a conversation, so conversations go both ways. But I'll answer your question first, and that is when times slow down, whether it's specific to your business or it's in a larger scale, it's people's natural instinct is to pull back, and in marketing, pull back is code for spend less. And I've found through my experience, I've been doing this for several decades and have experienced great highs and lows and so on. And what I find is that if you know your market well, you know your business well, you don't have to stop doing anything. You just need to adjust with the time. So general rule of thumb for us is that when things speed up, whether it's a hot market or what have you, or worry and concern, people start to speed up, it becomes important to slow down. Take a breath. In social media, reduce your cadence. Doesn't mean stop, but just slow down a little bit while others are frantic. That just gives you it gives you a bit more control, actually, and gives you a sense of control, which is important. It builds your confidence in the situation that you're at. When other people slow down and even stop, this is a good time for you to speed up, because now there's a place for you to be able to, it may not cost you any more money. It may actually, typically it costs you the same amount, because people are just vacating space that you can help fill. And so I'll use social media as an example again. If people are slowing down or stopping that conversation, people are still listening. There's still an appetite for more information, for more insight. People learn by what they see and what they experience. They learn through the sharing of others. And so now this is a time when others are slowing down for you to increase, for you to share more. And there's some legend behind this, and I'll share one with you if you don't mind. Are you familiar? In my world, these are these are sort of big players. But you're familiar with Kohler, their plumbing products?
Yeah, yeah, yep, exactly right. That's a name that when I hear the name, I think, oh, that's a good product.
Sure. Well, it's interesting because it's a family-owned business, and legend has it that in the 70s, when the market was slowing down, the industry leader at that time was American Standard. And American Standard made the choice as a leader to stop communicating, to stop investing in their marketing. At that time, Herb Kohler, the owner, the leader of the business, said, well, if they're slowing down, they're opening doors for us to walk through. So he actually took an opposite direction and started to invest. And he continued to invest. Well, it was within that same decade that he went from being a distant number two to a singular number one in that space. And he's continued to own that space with that same approach and the same attitude. Now the business is operated by his son, David, but with the same attitude about when opportunity presents itself, it's incumbent upon you to take advantage of that. So I like telling that story because I think it's one that others can look at as an example of when things become hurried, slow down, and when things slow down, there's a chance for you to step up.
I like the way you said that. So when things slow down, that's a chance for you to step up.
Yeah.
So obviously, when times are not so good, a lot of people they have to rethink things because it's smart to kind of rethink it, but that doesn't mean that you have to stop marketing, right? You have to still stay out front, because if you go totally silent, people may wonder, well, what happened? Are they out of business? Are they still around? What's going on? And I like how you were saying the opposite there. That's what I kept hearing. If somebody's doing this, then maybe you should do that. And you're to me, that's very marketing type advice, right? It's like, just like the American Standard example that you gave, when they said, we're not going to keep communicating, then Kohler stepped in and said, this is an opportunity. So let's talk about opportunity in good times and not so good times, because obviously there's two different versions, right? Because opportunity in good times will look a little bit different than opportunity in not so good times. So talk with me, a little bit about opportunity good and opportunity bad, as in the times that we're in with whatever's happening at the moment.
Sure. Well, let's talk about when things are going well. I think that's when businesses have to be even more disciplined, because often you get lost in the success that's occurring. It's like, well, I don't have to put any more energy into it. All the momentum is moving forward. Why should I put more energy into it? It's moving itself. And I think that's when you have to be actually smarter and more critical of yourself and the marketplace and the opportunity that's there, so that the momentum that you're building you can multiply that just by being smarter. So for a period of time, I was the head of marketing for a large specialty retailer. And I learned in the process a term called maxing the max. And what that means is when people are in a position to spend $1, like the holidays, it's easier to get them to spend $1.10, right? So they're going to spend, so you can get them to spend even more. In a season where they're not spending, let's say summer, when they're all outdoors and they're not doing whatever it is they might be doing related to that, asking them to spend 10 cents, it's very difficult to do it because they're not in the mindset of investing or spending. And so that's sort of the same thing relative to a healthy market. When it's healthy, it just don't go along for the ride. If they're spending $1, now's the time for you from a marketing and sales standpoint to get them to spend $1.10. So that's a piece of advice that I would give is, don't rest on your laurels, as it were. Take advantage of the energy that's there. And there, even if you're a market leader, or particularly if you're a market leader, it becomes important to do that, because if I'm your challenger, I'm absolutely doing that, because if you're taking your eye off the target because things are so good, I'm going to step in and find a way to take advantage of your energy on my behalf.
That's a very good point. So when times are not so good, what do you see there of how people may readjust and do things, because obviously, well, the same type of thing, I guess you kind of covered it there towards the end, resting on your laurels, because somebody could say, well, times are tough right now, so I'm just going to try to rest on my reputation and just kind of let things go. I've got to stop spending money, and I've got to stop doing some of these things, because just, the revenue's not there and things are kind of tough. So how do you see the companies, what do you see going on there with what advice are you giving to some of your clients? Because if somebody comes to you and says, Shawn, the revenue's down a little bit and we're a little concerned and we're thinking about doing this. Talk to me about how you might approach that with a client who says, I'm just not sure, because as you know, these are tough times. Give me some ideas of what advice you might give there.
Sure. Well, I think one of the first things that I would do is I'd point them in the direction of what you're doing. So when times are tougher and you have to give a more critical look at how you're investing, there are ways that you can invest your time, and there's time, talent, and treasure approach. Time speaks for itself. Where are you going to invest? Treasure are the skills that you have, and there's value there. And then people talk about the treasure and it's the money. People tend to spend too much time on the treasure side. It's like, hey, if I can't spend the same amount of money, I should just stop altogether, or make that type of decision. At the end of the day, you have to continue to communicate. So lack of communication, and I think you touched on this earlier, when you stop communicating, people then draw their own conclusions. Is their company closing their doors? What's happening to their employees? What's happening to my employer if I'm an employee? Are you supporting my business any longer because I can't hear from you, and so on. So this is what silence is, filled with other people's voices, as it were. So you want to make sure that you can continue to communicate. It doesn't always cost a lot of money. So number one, with social media today, social media is, generally speaking, is a platform for self-publishing. So if you think about it in that context, then you start considering what your audience is. And by the way, it's not expensive. Generally speaking, it's free, short of the time that it takes and some talent to create the kind of content people want to experience, like what you're doing here. So it's just making those type of investments versus spending money on it. And then it's just making sure that you know what your audience wants to hear, and being empathetic, contributing where you can, being humble, but having some benevolence in your purpose. All of these things, if are done authentically, is actually going to grow your relationship, build your relationships, because now people connect at that personal level. And I tell people this all the time as a marketer. At the end of the day, no matter how much technology is involved and what type of strategies you use and so on, at the end of the day, people buy from people. And so having that personal connection at the end that's authentic, that represents who you are and represents who your company is, that's one of the best ways to communicate, even when you may not have the financial resources to do so. So right now, one of the things I'm doing is I'm picking up the phone and I'm reaching out to my clients and even prospective clients, and I'm not asking them about an opportunity to work together. Because quite frankly, I think that's not being sensitive to how people might be feeling at any given time. What I am having a conversation with them around is, how are you? How's your family? How is your business? And then at the very end, they say, is there anything I can do to help you? And I mean that. But I'm not pitching my business. I'm not asking, what are your challenges? I'm not putting them on the spot. And it's interesting. I'm able to, people are entertaining phone calls more now than ever because of that type of approach and that type of connection. And by the way, all that takes is a little bit of time and not much talent. So
it's, and it's interesting that you mentioned the phone, because obviously these days that's one of many resources, whereas years ago, 20, 30 years ago, it was a primary resource. Because I've been on the sales side for a while myself, although I'm in the photo and video business. In the 1980s, when I was building, I can remember, man, calling up prospective clients and saying, this is who I am, this is what I do, do you have a need, can I send you information type thing. And so I remember doing that. One of the things that I'm doing these days that I've had some good success with is using a video platform. I'm using a service called Screenomatic, which the quality looks a little better than it does here in the Zoom recordings. And I'm using my webcam because I'm sitting in my office at home, and I'm recording some personalized messages. Hi, Shawn, just wanted to reach out to you. Hope you're doing well. I wish you and your family and your friends the very best during what we're going through at the moment, that type of thing. Or in another situation, what I did with a couple of inquiries we've had recently, and this is something I've started new. Hi, Shawn. Thanks for reaching out to us. It was, nice talking with you about your potential project. And I'm getting some responses from sending out those type of personalized videos. So rather than just sending an email, hi, Shawn, it was nice talking to you, they're able to see me talk to them, and I'm personalizing it so they know I took the time to say, hi, Shawn, right? Maybe I should just do up a bunch of names, right? Hi, Shawn, hi, Bob, hi, John, and file them. I'm just kidding. So, but
well, what you could do is just go to Country Buffet and read every name off that rack that has all those mini license plates.
Yeah. There you go. Yep. I forgot about that. All the keychains or the little name tag things, that type of stuff. But, I like the fact that you said you're just picking up the phone to current clients and prospective clients and just saying, hi, how are you doing? How's your family? That type of stuff. And I like that approach. So I appreciate you sharing that with me. I know a lot of people have probably been sending out emails, and I think people are getting bombarded with emails, and sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not so good. And that's why I'm trying to include like the video clip in a lot of the emails these days to kind of make it a little bit different. And then this video platform that I'm using right now, recording through Zoom, and going to strip this out and make it an MP3 for the podcast as well as on the YouTube channel. I want to try to give people an opportunity to hopefully pick up some things, get some points about, hey, Shawn shared this, and this, and what can I take away and implement that? It's absolutely free. You've shared the information free through this platform, and then hopefully they will remember, who was that guy that shared that information? You've definitely said some good things today. And so what I want to do as we wind down and bring us home, so to speak, is any closing remarks, and then after those closing remarks, of any final thoughts of this, and this, if you have some things to add, and then go ahead and include how people can reach you, find you on social media, find you on your website, that type of thing. So I'm going to let you bring us home with some closing thoughts, as well as how to reach out to you through various platforms, and then we will wrap it.
All right, sounds great. Thank you for that. And thank you for the chance to be a part of this. I've always said I have a face for radio, or at best podcasting. So I appreciate the chance to do this. So it's interesting when we were talking beforehand. One of the things, and I think you asked this here with us, was how do you, in challenging times, what do you do to adapt? And interesting enough, by sharing that with me earlier, I had a chance to think about it. And because again, I mentioned before, having gone through highs and lows before, as we all have. And the interesting thing is, I found regardless of high or low, if once you've experienced it, there's no excuse for you not to be able to prepare for when it's going to happen next, because it does. There's a cycle there. And so if nothing else, if what we're learning when times are low or when we're high, if we can take stock of that, prepare based on what we've learned, that's experience. And I think that experience really matters. I will also say this: when times are good or times are challenging, I think it's important to give to others. So with our kids, they're often asking, when times are high or low, they're saying, geez, either I'm bored or I'm overwhelmed. And one of the ways that we encourage them to resolve that is if you take the moment to help somebody else, it's amazing how everything that seemed to be a challenge before goes away. So those are a couple of things that I've learned in my business that have made a difference for me personally, and for the people that I'm lucky enough to work with, whether the marketplace is booming or it's slowing down, whether your business is highly successful or it's taking a deep breath. You have a chance to learn something new, take advantage of it. For me, the thing that I learn every time things slow down is patience, which is a good thing, I think, and so that I really appreciate. I'll leave it with just with one last thought. I think what you're doing here in sharing the podcast and this video cast and so on, I think is a great example of what I just described. So I would encourage people to continue to follow along with what you're doing for two reasons. One, the content I think is outstanding. At least this one will be. And then the other piece of this is it's a real opportunity to see someone who has terrific skills. You do, because I've worked with you before. But then also how you're applying those skills. And there's something to be learned from that. And so for that, I say thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this and to be able to share just a little bit of my insights and my experience with you and your audience. So with that, how would you like me to help?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the compliment. You know, I'm trying to find ways to give back, and I appreciate you saying that very much. So I will humbly accept your kind words. And with that said, go ahead and close out with any website information, any contact information you want to provide. An interview that I did earlier, he even included the phone number. That's completely optional, but I'm giving you the opportunity so you don't have to feel like, well, let me plug myself, which you haven't done, but let me plug me every time I can. So I'm giving you the opportunity for taking this time for me, giving you permission to just go for it. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is how you can find me. And then once you're done with that, I will close this out.
Okay. Well, I'll do that. I'll leave you with the contact information. If you want to learn more about Draper DNA, which is the name of my agency, you can find us at draperdna.com. There you'll find direct contact information to me, but if you have a pen handy, you can send an email to Shawn, that's spelled SHAWN, at draperdna.com. And I'd encourage you to follow along on our social media channels. We have a very robust editorial calendar. We post across different platforms every day. The purpose of our social media platforms is to inform, educate, and periodically entertain. And through best practices and insights that we have and that we find and share. And that across those platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Essentially, just go to @DraperDNA on all of those platforms, and you'll find us there. Follow along, share what we post. That's how community is built, and we like being part of the community that we experience across social media. So that's it for promoting the business, as it were. Whether you're in building products or not, I'd love to have an opportunity to first listen and then share if I can. So again, thank you for the chance to do so.
I appreciate you closing us out there. One of the things that I want to mention that you said, I was hoping you would mention LinkedIn, because although we've known each other for several years, it's your recent LinkedIn posts that were on my radar, and I reached out to you because obviously I'm looking for people that I know, or even connections from somebody that may know somebody that knows somebody type of thing. But in your case, seeing your LinkedIn post gave me the opportunity to just say, oh, wow, Shawn's on my radar. Let me just send him a quick message. And then obviously it led to this. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this. Thanks so much, Shawn Draper. Again, I haven't been drinking yet either. It's not even noon. So thank you, Shawn Draper, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you. You too.